Hello everyone, this is Revathi M, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science, Artificial Intelligence and Data Science, Dr. SNS Rajalakshmi College of Arts and Science. In this series, we are discussed about the neural networks. So today we are going to discuss about the artificial neurons and neural networks. So first we see what are the difference between the biological neurons and artificial neurons. So in biological neurons found in the human brain are complex cells that communicate using electrical impulses and chemical signals. They consist of dendrites, that is called as an input, a cell body that is processing center, and an axon that is called as an output. Synapse connects neurons and adjusts based on learning through a process called synaptic plasticity. In contrast, so these are the biological neuron. So in contrast, artificial neurons are simplified mathematical model inspired by the biological counterparts. In artificial neural network, artificial neuron process weighted inputs, apply an activation function and produce output, while biological neurons operate in a highly parallel and acceptable manner. But in artificial neurons are part of algorithmically defined networks optimized for specific tasks such as pattern recognition or decision making. So these are the difference between the biological neurons and the artificial neurons. So what is an artificial neuron? That is, artificial neuron is a software construct that approximates the working of natural neurons. It consists of input, weight, bias, and activation function and outputs. So in this diagram, these are all the working of neural networks, artificial neurons, input, weight, bias, activation, function and output. So we will see one by one the component of an artificial neuron. There are input, weights, bias, activation function and output. So input means number or values received from the other neurons or inputs to the network. Weight, values adjusted during training of favor specific inputs. Bias, a small number added to prevent neurons from getting stuck. So in activation functions, it determines the neuron output based on the input. So how output value passed to subsequent neurons are network results. We will see activation function in briefly. It is a mathematical operation applied to the output of the neuron in a neural network. It helps to determine the final output of the neuron. It introduces non-linearly into the network, allowing the model to learn complex patterns and relationship from the data. Here, explanation for the commonly used activation functions are RELU, that is a rectified linear unit. Here we are using one formula. There are rectify RELU of x equal to maximum of x divided by text rectified linear unit of x equal to maximum of x. So these formulas are using here. So here the output 0 for value less than 0, otherwise the output value is greater than 0. So its behavior, if the input value x is positive, the output is x itself. If x is negative, the output is 0. So for example, if the value is 1, it is positive, the output is 1. So if the value is negative, the output is 0. Why it is used? Why we are using the rectified linear unit? Is simple and computationally efficient, and it reduces the childhood of the vanishing gradient problem. So allowing to faster and more effective training for deep networks. Next, we will see the non-linearity. Without non-linearity, a neural network would just be a series of linear operation, no matter how many layers it had. No, non-linear activation functions like reunion, rectified linear unit, and sigmoid enable the network to model complex relationships. Next, we see the weights and bias. So in neural networks, weights are value associated with each input that determine the influence of the input and the neural outputs. So the input values are multiplied by the corresponding weights and the sum of their weights input is calculated. During training, the network adjusts the weight to prioritize certain input over others, helping the model focus on the most important features for making accurately prediction. Next, we see the bias. The bias helps shift the output of the neurons, preventing it from the being stuck at zero and allowing for greater flexibility in learning. It ensures that the neurons can produce non-zero outputs, even when the weighted sum of input is zero, improving the model ability to train effectively. Both weight and bias are learned during training and contribute to the neural network's ability to make accurate prediction by adjusting to the pattern in the data. Next, we see the output and connections. Output means already we know passing value to the next layer in the network. Connection, it's a fully connected sparse connector. There are two types. Fully connected means each neuron connect to every neuron in the next layer. Sparse connections randomly remove connections to strengthen the networks. So another functions, the components in activation functions are max pooling. That is called as a, we will use special type of output connections called max pooling, where groups of neurons corresponding to region in our image, say 5 into 5 block of pixels, go to one neuron in the next level. The maximum pool neurons only take the largest value from each of the 25 input neurons. This has the effect of downslamping the images, making it smaller. So this allows the network to associate small features um, with large features such as a hood or a windshield to identify a toy car. So what are the applications in artificial neurons? So artificial neurons are foundation of various AI applications. There are object recognition, natural processing language, autonomous vehicle, medical diagnosis. We come to the end of this session. I hope you enjoy this session. Thank you.